Hi guys, welcome back to Sacred Vedic Astrology. My name is Samantha and I am a professional Vedic sidereal astrologer. So I hope everyone is doing so well and finishing out this year strong and productive and solid. I feel really amazing. I've been putting so much energy into my business and my content creation and working out as well too, and just like staying really solid and staying very productive and trying to finish out the year in the best energy that I can. And it's really just been such a transformational year personally. So I'm really, really excited for 2025. I have the best feeling. I'll do some, videos if you guys want about what we can expect energetically from the upcoming year, talking about some important transits. If you guys would be interested, comment down below, let me know. So that could be something that I can create for you guys as well too. So today we are going to do a really fun chart analysis into what gives spiritual and occult and healing and metaphysical interest in the chart, because yes, we can absolutely see that in the Vedic astrology chart. It's not in everyone's purpose or path to necessarily walk that very spiritual life in this lifetime, right? There's some people that dabble, they're interested here and there, and then there's other charts where it's like, no, this is your lifetime for this, and this is your karma, and this is your path to walk. For me, I have such a Moshka heavy chart. I have Moon in the 8th house, I have 8th house Lord in the 10th house, I have Ketu with Saturn in the 10th house. The thing that has always made the most sense to me has been spirituality since I was younger. It's just what I see reality as, and that's just the way it is, and that's how my chart is, and I'm always going to be that person. So it's cool to know these things about yourself and understand your energy and your purpose and your path in this lifetime, so you can walk it, and you can walk it with confidence and walk it with power, right? So we are going to go into the Vedic astrology chart of Robert Edward Grant, who my friend actually told me about. So he has this podcast where he has on all these very interesting spiritual people. He's super interested in the occult and the different metaphysical sciences, astrology, numerology, etc. And he's also done business endeavors that connect to more traditional healing companies and like scientific mathematical companies as well too, that are working in healing fields. So he does have his exact birth time online. So I thought he would be a great chart to use and analyze what gives this like obsession and this extreme interest in spirituality and health and healing and the occult and the metaphysical, because his chart, it is like screaming at you. It is jumping at you. If I pulled up his chart, I would be shocked, to be quite honest. I haven't seen a chart with that much planetary energy in the 8th house in a good while. I had a client a while back who had like 4 planets in the 8th house. But it's been a while since I've seen that much 8th house energy. So best believe that if you see, a lot of planetary energy in the 8th house, someone is interested in the occult. They are interested in the psychic. They are interested in astrology. They are interested in, different modalities of healing as well too. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up Robert Edward Grant's Vedic astrology chart. He's not like the most famous chart that we could use, right? So a lot of you might not even know who he is, but he is someone who is deeply interested in the metaphysical and the occult sciences and healing in this lifetime. And he also has made a lot of money, has been very successful as an entrepreneur as well too. All right, so let's pull up his chart and let's get right into it today. All right, guys, so let's get right into it. So here we have Robert Edward Grant's Vedic astrological chart pulled up. Sorry that there are so many tabs pulled up in this. This is what it looks like being a professional Vedic astrologer. I always have like 7 different charts pulled up at once, but let's just try to focus on the one chart that we're looking at today. Okay, so Robert is a Libra ascendant. So that means that his whole chart gets ruled by Venus, right? So let's hop over to Venus in the 6th house in Pisces. So we have a strong Venus because Venus is naturally in Pisces, Libra, or Taurus, right? So Venus does well in those three signs. So we have a strong first house ruler in the sixth house of health and healing, okay? The sixth house is the house that rules health and wellness and the service industry. And you'll find that if people have a strong sixth house, they're very interested in healing in this lifetime, okay? So we see Venus in a sign that it really likes to be in the sixth house. And then we see Rahu with Venus in the sixth house. So Rahu with a exalted Venus is just heightening the strength of that Venus. It's heightening the interest in all of the sixth house themes, right? So sixth house is strong, strong, strong because we have Venus in a sign it likes to be in conjunction with Rahu, which just heightens everything, right? Rahu is the energy of, power and something that's overt, it's intense. So when Rahu goes next to like an exalted Venus or an exalted planet, it really just brings a lot of heightened energy, even obsession towards that house, towards that planet, right? So Venus with Rahu in the sixth shows that he's obsessed with health. He's obsessed with healing. He's obsessed with any sort of endeavor that has to do with the sixth house energy, right? And also Venus with Rahu, with Venus in its own sign, can also give heightened money and financial success. And he has been a very successful entrepreneur. He's owned a lot of different businesses. And it even says that he was connected to companies that work within health and healing in his entrepreneurial endeavors. So that is Venus in its own sign in conjunction with Rahu in the sixth house. Okay. And then we get that his sixth house lord goes into his 12th house, right? So that is a, house of health and healing, and it goes into the house of spirituality and metaphysics. So we get that connection between the 6th and the 12th, and then we get Jupiter retrograde sitting with K2 in the 12th house. So this is something that my Vedic astrology teacher, one of my Vedic astrology teachers, James Braha, taught us, and this is very, very specific, but K2 and Rahu do the best in Virgo, okay? So K2 is here in Virgo, so that means that we have a strong K2 because it's in that 12th house of Virgo in a sign that it does well in, and this has worked. James studied with the top Vedic astrologers of India, so when he gets information, it's very true, it's very real, it's very accurate, and I, really trust everything that James Braha has taught me to a T because he's studied with the top Vedic astrologers from India, okay? So we see K2 in Virgo giving us a strong K2. K2 is the spiritual, K2 is the metaphysical, K2 is the psychic. It's in the 12th house of spirituality, moksha, healing, foreign lands, different cultures. And we also get that 6th house, 12th house connection, which shows, his interest in health and healing going into the 12th house of metaphysics and spirituality as well, too. So K2 is strong. Venus with Rahu is strong in the 6th house, giving an interest in health and healing and wellness and service and the service industry. And then that gets disposited by the 12th house with a strong K2, which rules spirituality, metaphysics, because it's in Virgo, and it's also in the 12th house of spirituality and metaphysics and foreign lands, different cultures. And then we also get Jupiter retrograde in that 12th house, right? And Jupiter is at 2 degrees, K2 is at 5 degrees. That's a very tight orb of conjunction between two karakas or indications of spirituality, right? Jupiter is also a very spiritual, philosophical indication in the chart. So when we see Jupiter with K2 in a very tight conjunction in the 12th house of Virgo, where K2 does well, best to believe we are getting a lot of spiritual, metaphysical interest in this lifetime. And that house of healing and health gets disposited by that 12th house of spirituality with a strong K2 because it is in Virgo, okay? And I've found that K2 with Jupiter conjunctions can give someone an ability to teach people spiritual or philosophical ideas and concepts when they come together, especially in the house of health and healing and spirituality and moksha, right? if you're going to see a chart of someone who is very interested in spirituality and the occult and the metaphysical, you're going to see strong Moshka energy 4, 8, and 12. Okay? 4, 8, and 12 is what gives us that spiritual interest, as well as the 6th house as well too. So Venus in its own sign with Rahu heightens that 6th house energy. Again, he worked with companies that were connected to health and healing and wellness as well too. And that 8th house, which we'll get into shortly, is packed with 3 planets. And that 12th house is packed with Ketu and Jupiter. And Ketu is strong because it's in Virgo. Okay? And wherever Jupiter goes gives expansion and good energy. It's in the 12th house of spirituality. So he's definitely, you know, this is a spiritual lifetime for Robert. Best believe it. All right, that's Jupiter Ketu conjunct. Also, Jupiter Ketu will give someone past life spiritual interest. That's what I found as well too. It kind of comes innately to someone, right? Ketu is something that's innate, and Jupiter is spiritual wisdom and philosophies. So there's something in his life where it's just very innate and natural for him to study all the different occult, you know, interests and subjects. It just comes easily. It comes naturally to him. All right. Then let's hop over to this packed 8th house, because best believe if you see 3 planets in the 8th house, especially the moon, especially Mercury, especially the sun, we are getting occult, psychic, astrological interest, as well as interest in money and finances as well too. So, you know, Robert probably also had a really good energy with investing and getting investors in his businesses, right? He's been a very successful entrepreneur. That is the 8th house as well too. It's investments. It's other people's money. If someone has 2 benefics in the 8th house, right? We have Moon, Mercury, 2 benefics. 1 malefic, yes, but it's more so just an interest with the sun in the 8th house with the moon and Mercury. We are getting a lot of good energy with the 8th house, because also his 8th house gets disposited by a strong Venus in the 6th with Rahu. So 8th house is strong, 6th house is strong, 12th house is strong, okay? So moon in the 8th house will always give someone, you know, occult spiritual interest and a lot of intuition. Also a lot of sort of ups and downs and a kind of tumultuous life when you see moon in the 8th house. So I don't know much about his upbringing or his life, but he probably had a lot of ups and downs and maybe health issues, things that really happened to him in this lifetime that got him interested in healing. You'll find people with the moon in the 8th house or 8th house planets have intense psychological experiences. They go through a lot. They go through the depths of their own darkness, and then they use those experiences to heal or help in some way as well too, okay? So that's very strong in this chart. Moon is a benefic, Mercury is a benefic, Sun is a, you know, mild malefic, but when we see 2 benefics in the 8th house and 8th house disposited by a very strong benefic Venus with Rahu, I'm more taking this as a positive 8th house, okay? So what does that mean? That means that he has benefic energy or positive energy around spirituality, astrology, the occult, the metaphysical sciences, as well as acquiring other people's money. So, you know, he has some sort of luck in this lifetime with that 8th house energy, some sort of benefic positive energy. So you can't really have a successful business and be a successful entrepreneur unless you know how to gain or acquire other people's money for investments as well too. So best believe Moon, Mercury in the 8th house, he is good with investing, good with finances as well too. All right, so that is all of that energy in the 8th house. You also find that Moon, Mercury in the 8th house will give someone a very active mind. So he's probably very obsessive about things. He ponders things all the time. It might be hard for him to sleep or shut his mind off as well with that Moon, Mercury in the 8th house. You'll find that with Moon, Mercury aspects, okay? And so much 8th house energy also shows he has an obsession with research. If you see a lot of 8th house energy, someone is very research oriented. They love to uncover, unravel, you know, psychoanalyze, research things as well too. So he has a very research heavy chart, and he's, you know, been interested in the psychological, the occult, the scientific as well too. You'll find that 8th house energy, and Ketu Rahu in the Virgo Pisces axis gives an interest in the metaphysical, but also the more mathematical, scientific side to spiritual stuff as well too. So I always see like Rahu or Ketu in that Virgo Pisces axis as balancing out the spiritual and the mathematical and the metaphysical and the scientific. So it's almost like being like a, spiritual scientist is how I see that Rahu, Ketu, Virgo, Pisces axis. I just had a client the other day who had that. And when I told her, I was like, you're kind of like a mystical scientist. She was like, I just told that to someone the other day. Like, I just told my friend that I am like a mystical scientist. I'm like, yeah, that's Rahu, Ketu in the Virgo, Pisces axis, verbatim. Okay. So we also see all of that 8th house energy. So if we're going to see a mystical chart, we are going to see 3 planets in the 8th house, 2 benefics in the 8th house of the spiritual and the occult. We're going to see Ketu in Virgo, where Ketu does very well in conjunction with Jupiter, a Karaka for the philosophical. And then we're going to get an exalted Venus in the 6th house of health and healing with Rahu expanding it as well too. Best believe it. And having Rahu, Ketu in the Virgo Pisces axis in itself and in the 6th house, 12th house axis, both things are going to give a lot of spiritual health, healing, wellness interest, because Pisces is spiritual healing. Virgo is more practical healing. So when someone has either Rahu or Ketu in Pisces or Virgo and in the 6th house or the 12th house, which Robert has both of those things, you are getting spiritual and occult interest, but also health, healing, and wellness interest. And the person is trying to balance the two to kind of bridge the two worlds together. Okay. And the 6th house, 12th house axis is all about health. It's all about healing. So you'll find that when someone has Rahu or Ketu in Pisces or Virgo, they are learning in this lifetime all about health, healing, wellness. All of those themes are going to be huge in someone's life. Okay. And Ketu in the 12th by itself really gives a great energy of understanding the spiritual, understanding health, understanding, all of these different Moshka themes. Again, Moshka means spiritual liberation, and it's the 12th house, the 8th house, and the 4th house. All right, but more so the 12th house and the 8th house is where we really get that active spiritual energy, occult interest in the chart for sure. Okay, so see how that 8th house is lit up with 3 planetary energies. See how that 12th house is lit up with Jupiter, 2 Karakas that connect to spirituality, philosophy, and wisdom in Virgo, where Ketu and Rahu do very well. And then we also have an exalted Venus with Rahu in the 6th house, giving, spiritual interest, but also giving a lot of health and healing and wellness interest as well too. And that 1st house Lord is strong, giving a lot of strength to his energy and his ability to be seen and out and about in the world in this lifetime as well too. So this is a very strong chart, guys. This is a powerful chart. And something you also find with a lot of 8th house energy, and maybe I'm gonna expose myself by saying this. I definitely am gonna expose myself by saying this, but you'll find that when someone has a strong 8th house, they are sexually magnetic to people without even trying. And I'm totally exposing myself right now. But when I was watching Robert Grant's videos and his podcasts, because my friend told me about him, and I started watching and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, he is not the most quote unquote physically attractive to me, but there is something magnetic about his energy. There is something alluring about his energy. That is the 8th house. Best believe it. Okay. 8th house gives this allure. It gives this sex appeal. It gives this kind of charismatic, intriguing energy. And you do have to be careful if you have 8th house placements, because people are sexually drawn to you, whether you like it or not. So that's those 2 benefics in the 8th house giving him that kind of charismatic sexual appeal, even though I was like, why am I kind of attracted to this man? Even though he's not my type at all. That is all that energy in the 8th house and 2 benefics in the 8th house. Did I just expose myself? Yes, it's for the sake of Vedic astrology. And then we also get that 8th house Lord going into the 6th, so connections between houses of healing and spirituality and Moshka again, right? The 6th house is active, the 8th house is active, the 12th house is active, okay? And this is very interesting as well too, because he has this very spiritual, metaphysical, health and healing strong chart, right? That's been his whole entire life, but also he has a very strong Mars in the second house. So he has Mars in its own sign of Scorpio in the second, which gives great energy for money. This is also a very wealth producing chart, okay? We also get the Chandra Mangal Yoga. So, Chandra Mangal is when the moon is conjunct or opposite Mars, and it gives business success and it gives financial success. And his is really potent and strong because he has Mars in a good placement of Scorpio and the moon in a good placement of Taurus. So, the moon does well in Taurus. Mars is very strong in Scorpio, and we get that Chandra Mangal Yoga, which gives business success. Both placed in really good signs. So we get all of that really, good energy, and it's between houses 2 and 8, which rules, health, healing, psychology. Second house is what we put into our body and the voice and the speech. So all of those themes are really active in his business and his success as well, too. He talks, he podcasts. That's all about the voice, okay? And that really strong second house gives an ability to be motivated towards making money and speaking and all of those themes, which is exactly what he's done as well too. So Chandra Mangal Yoga is when moon is conjunct or opposite Mars, and the moon is strong in Taurus, Mars is strong in Scorpio. So it's not just a Chandra Mangal Yoga in a weak placement. It's a Chandra Mangal Yoga with a really strong moon and a really strong Mars in the second house of money and finances, and the eighth house is other people's money, investments, psychology, the psychic, and the occult. Okay? You'll find that Chandra Mangal Yoga is more potent and more strong when it's in well-placed signs. Like if the moon is in a good placement, Mars is in a good placement, we get more strength to that Chandra Mangal Yoga as well too. But Chandra Mangal just means business success. So if someone has Mars conjunct or opposite the moon, they are successful in business endeavors, okay? Highlights the second house of the voice, highlights the second house of the speech and teaching, and the eighth house of other people's money, investments, psychology, spirituality, the occult, astrology, and metaphysics. Guys, that's his whole life. That's been his whole entire life and his whole business. Best believe it, okay? So we see how important it is to analyze the strength of planets, the strength of yogas, a strong Venus, a strong moon, a strong Mars, a strong ascendant ruler, Venus with Rahu, a strong Ketu, because Ketu or Rahu do best in Virgo, okay? And then we also see Jupiter, the great benefic, with Ketu and Virgo, giving spiritual, metaphysical interest. All right? So best believe that has been his entire life story. There it all is. That is it. And that's how, accurate Vedic astrology is. It will tell you your entire life story. If you know how to read it and you're properly trained in Vedic astrology, it's going to tell someone's entire life, okay? And let's go over to his D10 to see what's going on. So his 10th house Lord is in the third house. So third house rules, publications, communication, things like podcasting, business, sales, and that's also been his whole entire life. Third house sits with the Sun and Mars. So Sun-Mars conjunction, 10th house Lord in the third house with Sun and Mars there. He's meant to be a leader, and he's meant to be an entrepreneur in business as well too. So this is a very business heavy chart as well. It's spiritually heavy. It's heavy for the occult. It's heavy for the psychic. He has definitely been into all this stuff from past, incarnations, if you kind of want to see it in that way. Karmically, he has so much spiritual occult interest in this lifetime. It's pretty crazy. Like this is more of a metaphysical chart than even mine, and I feel like mine is very, very heavy for the mystical and the spiritual, but this is a chart that I'm like, oh my god, like he's been doing this for lifetimes. And if I talked to him, I would tell him that and he would know exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah. So that was the chart analysis of what we are looking for a very spiritually heavy chart. Moshka houses, 12th house, 8th house, 4th house. His 4th house isn't that lit up in this chart, but that's just, to me, the 4th house is more so like the seat of the soul. It's the heart. So I more so take 8th house, 12th house energy as very spiritual. K2 is the most spiritual graha, even though it's not really a planet. It's the ecliptic of the moon. But when I do videos, I call it a planet just to make it easier. But don't ever think that K2 is actually a planet. K2 is in the best placement for K2 or Rahu, which is Virgo. So with Jupiter, which rules spirituality and philosophical interest, Jupiter K2 in a tight conjunction gives past life spiritual interest and philosophy interest and an ability to teach others about spirituality and metaphysics as well too. And let's see, K2 is aspecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, of course. Okay, I didn't even see this until right now, but K2 is also aspecting, and Jupiter, all of these planets in the 8th house, right? K2 and Jupiter aspect houses that go 5 houses over and 9 houses over. So let's go, Jupiter is conjunct K2, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, aspecting the 4th house, another Moshka house, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can't even believe this chart, guys. Like, I can't even believe it. Okay, Jupiter in K2 is now aspecting his sun, his moon, and his Mercury in the 8th house. So Jupiter rules spirituality and philosophical interest, benefic influence. K2 rules the spiritual, the metaphysical, and now it's aspecting his sun, now it's aspecting his moon, now it's aspecting his Mercury. So we get all that K2 energy on all of these personal planets, heightening his occult and spiritual interest in this lifetime. K2 moon is a psychic conjunction. Jupiter moon is spiritual protection, spirituality. Jupiter is now on the sun. K2 is on the sun. K2 is on Mercury, giving an ability to tap in with all things Moshka, all things spiritual, all things occult. So yes, I'm so glad I saw that at the end of this reading as well too. So my goodness, I mean, truly, I'm not even just saying this. I have never in my life seen a chart that is this Moshka, this K2 aspected, this Jupiter strong, this 8th house strong, this 12th house strong. This is the chart of a mystical seeker through and through. All right, so this is what we are looking to analyze charts of people who are more spiritual, more interested in the metaphysical, but also we can see all his business success as well too with the Chandramangal Yoga, strong Mars in the 2nd of finances, and he has a really, really potent and powerful chart for all of the different things that he achieved and acquired and accomplished in this lifetime. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this chart analysis, and, these are some themes you can look to in your own chart, because if you're on my channel, I'm assuming that you are interested in all things spiritual or astrological or healing in some regard as well, too. All right, I hope you guys are having such a blessed day or night whenever you're watching this, and let me know if you want me to do more videos on specific charts as long as we have their birth time. I am very open to any suggestions. Also, I'm going to do more transit readings as well coming up, so I'm really trying to stay just locked in for the end of this year, staying really productive, and getting out as much content and just doing as much work stuff as I can. All right, I love you guys. We'll talk soon. Bye.